Pizza looks like one of the most normal foods in America today, so normal that it almost disappears into the background of everyday life. It is what shows up when nobody wants to cook, when a game is on, when a meeting runs late, when kids have a birthday party, when college students are broke, or when a family just needs dinner to appear without a debate. A hot pizza box on a kitchen counter feels simple, friendly, and familiar. But the story behind that box is much stranger than most people realize. Pizza did not begin as a polished global product, and it did not begin as the clean, branded, perfectly photographed food we see on delivery apps today. It began as working-class food, street food, immigrant food, and in some places, food that respectable people barely noticed because it belonged to the poor, the busy, and the hungry. Before it became a billion-dollar industry, before frozen pizzas filled supermarket freezers, before delivery became a normal part of American life, pizza was basically dough, tomato, cheese, heat, and speed. That is what makes pizza history so powerful, because it is not just the story of a recipe, it is the story of cities, migration, technology, business, and the American habit of turning simple comfort into a massive system. Long before Americans argued about New York slices, Chicago deep dish, pineapple, stuffed crust, ranch, or whether folding a slice is the only respectable way to eat it, people around the Mediterranean were already eating flatbreads with toppings. Flatbread is one of the oldest food ideas in human history because it solves a very old problem in a very elegant way. Take grain, grind it, mix it with water, make dough, press it flat, put it near heat, and suddenly you have something filling, portable, and easy to share. Ancient Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, Persians, and many other cultures had their own versions of baked bread with oil, herbs, cheese, onions, fish, or whatever the region could provide. These foods were not pizza yet, but they created the basic logic of pizza, which is bread acting as both food and plate. The missing ingredient was the tomato, and that is where the story takes a sharp turn across the Atlantic. Tomatoes came from the Americas after European contact, and when they arrived in Europe, they were not immediately treated like an obvious gift. In some places, they were seen as strange, foreign, suspicious, and even dangerous, partly because wealthy Europeans sometimes ate from pewter plates that could react badly with acidic foods, and partly because new foods often carry old fears. But in southern Italy, especially around Naples, the tomato eventually found the people who needed it most. Naples was crowded, poor, loud, fast, and alive, a city full of workers, sailors, vendors, families, narrow streets, and people who needed cheap food that could be eaten quickly. That environment matters because foods are rarely invented in perfect silence by one genius standing over a table. Most iconic foods are shaped by pressure, and Naples had pressure everywhere: poverty, movement, heat, trade, crowding, and appetite. In that world, a flat piece of dough with tomato, garlic, oil, herbs, anchovies, or a little cheese was not a luxury. It was practical fuel, a food that made sense for people who did not have much money, much space, or much time. Early pizza was often sold on the street or from small shops, and it was sometimes eaten for breakfast, lunch, or whenever hunger met opportunity. The rich might have looked down on it, but the poor understood it immediately because it was hot, salty, filling, and cheap. That pattern repeats across American food history again and again. The hot dog was not born fancy, the hamburger was not born elite, French fries were not born as health food, and pizza was not born as a lifestyle brand. These foods survived because they answered ordinary needs better than polite food did. They were fast, affordable, flavorful, and easy to sell to crowds. Pizza did not become a global obsession because it stayed in Naples. It became powerful because people moved, and when people move, they carry flavors with them. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, millions of Italians left Italy and came to the United States, pushed by poverty, politics, limited opportunity, and the hope that America might offer a better future. They arrived in cities like New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, New Haven, and Detroit, often facing discrimination, difficult work, crowded housing, and pressure to become American without fully losing who they were. Food became one of the strongest anchors they had. Recipes, smells, bakeries, markets, saints' days, Sunday meals, and neighborhood restaurants helped immigrant communities remember home while surviving somewhere new. At first, pizza in the United States mostly stayed inside Italian immigrant neighborhoods. It was not yet America's food. It was their food, made by and for people who already understood what it meant. In New York, coal-fired ovens helped create pizzas with blistered crusts, bright tomato, and a style that fit the city's speed. Lombardi's, often credited as the first licensed pizzeria in the United States in 1905, became part of the origin story of American pizza. The New York slice eventually became one of the greatest pieces of urban food design ever created. It was large, thin, foldable, hot, cheap, and built for walking, which means it understood New York almost as well as New Yorkers understood themselves. A slice could be eaten standing at a counter, on the sidewalk after a shift, before a train, late at night, or during a lunch break that was already too short. Pizza succeeded in New York because it matched the rhythm of the city, fast, crowded, direct, and impossible to keep perfectly clean. But America did not just adopt one version of pizza. America did what America often does with immigrant food. It absorbed it, changed it, regionalized it, commercialized it, argued over it, and then claimed it with enormous confidence. New Haven developed its own coal-fired pizza, often charred, chewy, crisp, and intense, with a local culture that treats pizza less like casual food and more like a civic religion. Chicago went in a completely different direction, building deep dish into a thick, heavy, saucy, dramatic meal that some people call pizza, and some New Yorkers call a casserole when they want to start a fight. Detroit created square pan pizza with a thick, airy crust, caramelized cheese edges, and sauce often placed on top, proving that industrial pans from Auto Country could help shape one of the best regional pizzas in America. St. Louis developed cracker-thin crust and Provel cheese, a style that outsiders often question, and locals often defend with the stubbornness of family memory. Suburbs expanded, car culture grew, televisions moved into living rooms, families reorganized their evenings, and Americans wanted foods that felt fun, casual, and modern. Pizza fit that new country almost perfectly. It could be eaten in a restaurant, taken home in a box, shared at a party, reheated for breakfast, served at a bowling alley, or ordered for a room full of people who could not agree on anything except cheese. It felt foreign enough to be interesting, but familiar enough to become safe. It had bread, tomato, and cheese, which meant even cautious eaters could understand it quickly. Then the chains arrived, and pizza changed from a neighborhood food into a national machine. Pizza Hut opened in 1958 in Wichita, Kansas, and helped turn pizza into a family restaurant experience that could be repeated across the country. The red roof, the pan pizza, the pitchers of soda, the salad bar, the arcade games, and the smell of hot cheese made Pizza Hut part of American childhood for millions of people. Domino's, founded in 1960, understood something even more important. Pizza was not just food, pizza was delivery. The product was the meal, but the promise was speed. Domino's built a business around the idea that dinner could appear at your door before the night fell apart, and that promise changed the meaning of pizza. Suddenly, pizza was not just something you went out to eat, it was something that came to you. That made pizza one of the most important foods in the history of convenience. The doorbell became part of the ritual. A box arrived, steam escaped, people gathered, slices separated, and dinner happened without pots, pans, plates, or negotiation. Little Caesars pushed value and repetition. Papa John's sold the language of better ingredients, regional chains built local loyalty, and independent pizzerias fought to keep personality alive in a world of franchising. By the late 20th century, pizza had become one of the few foods that could exist in almost every price category at once. It could be a cheap slice, a frozen rectangle, a school lunch square, a chain delivery pie, a wood-fired restaurant pizza, or a serious artisan object made with long fermented dough and imported tomatoes. That range is rare. Most foods become either cheap or fancy, traditional or modern, local or corporate, but pizza somehow became all of them at the same time. Frozen pizza added another layer to the empire. Once food companies figured out how to make pizza survive freezing, shipping, storage, and reheating, pizza moved into the freezer aisle and became emergency food, budget food, after-school food, late-night food, and food for people who wanted comfort without calling anyone. Brands like Totino's, Red Baron DiGiorno, Tombstone, and many others turned pizza into a product that could wait for you for months. Frozen pizza was not always great, but greatness was not the point. Availability was the point. Modern food history is full of products that won because they were there at exactly the right moment, and frozen pizza may be one of the clearest examples. It did not need to be the best pizza in town, it needed to be in the freezer when the town was closed. At the same time, toppings became a cultural battlefield. Pepperoni became America's favorite pizza topping. Even though pepperoni, as Americans know, it is an Italian-American creation rather than a direct old-world standard. It is spicy, oily, red, salty, and visually perfect because it turns into little curled cups of fat and flavor under heat. Sausage brought richness, mushrooms brought earthiness, onions and peppers brought sweetness, olives brought salt, anchovies brought drama, and extra cheese brought the kind of comfort that does not ask too many questions. Pizza manages to do both. It can be protected by strict rules in Naples and remixed wildly in a mall food court, and somehow both versions still belong to the same family tree. The cardboard box also deserves more credit than it gets. A pizza box is simple, but it is one of the quiet technologies that helped pizza conquer modern life. It keeps a large, flat, hot food together, creates a temporary table, stacks easily, travels reasonably well, and opens in a way that immediately invites sharing. The box turned pizza into portable architecture. Without the box, delivery pizza would be messier, harder to carry, harder to share, and less iconic. Think about how much feeling is attached to opening that lid. The smell rises first, then the cheese, the sauce, the steam, the grease marks, the little plastic table sometimes placed in the center, and the small moment when everyone looks for the slice they want. That ritual is part of the product. Pizza became emotional because it is designed for groups, even when you eat it alone. It arrives already divided, already social, already prepared for hands reaching in from different directions. This is why pizza became attached to birthdays, classrooms, sports teams, moving days, office lunches, movie nights, sleepovers, and college dorm rooms. It does not demand manners, and that is part of its charm. You can eat pizza from a paper plate, a napkin, a box lid, a fancy ceramic plate, or directly over the sink like a person making peace with the day. It fits almost every mood. A burger can get soggy, fries can die quickly, soup can spill, but pizza was built to travel. Delivery apps did not invent pizza convenience. They simply gave an old convenience a new interface. At the same time, the artisan pizza movement reminded people that pizza could still be craft. Wood-fired ovens, sourdough starters, long fermentation, high hydration dough, fresh mozzarella, San Marzano tomatoes, seasonal toppings, and serious attention to char and texture helped pizza return to its older identity as a food shaped by heat, hands, and time. That created a funny split in modern pizza culture. On one side, pizza is the easiest food in America, available through a button, a freezer, a gas station, or a chain restaurant. On the other side, pizza is treated with near religious seriousness by people who argue about oven temperature, flour strength, hydration percentages, fermentation windows, water chemistry, sauce texture, and whether a crust should bend, crack, blister, or leopard spot. Both sides are real because pizza contains both convenience and obsession. It can be lazy food and perfectionist food at the same time. That is part of why people never get bored of arguing about it. The debates themselves keep pizza culturally alive. Is New York better than Chicago, or is that a meaningless comparison between two different foods built for different experiences? Does pineapple belong on pizza, or does the fact that people keep arguing about it prove that it has already earned a place in pizza history? Is the best slice from a famous shop, a neighborhood place with bad lighting, a school cafeteria memory, or the frozen pizza you ate at midnight when nothing else was available? These arguments sound silly, but they show how much ownership people feel over pizza. That geometry matters. A round pie divided into slices creates a little ceremony of fairness, desire, and negotiation. Who gets the biggest slice? Who wants the crust? Who takes the corner piece on a square pie? Who picks off the olives? Who reaches for the slice with the most pepperoni? And who pretends they are done before taking one more piece? These tiny behaviors are part of pizza's social design. It is food that turns hunger into a small event. Even the phrase pizza night carries a promise. It means the rules are relaxed, the meal is easy, and nobody is pretending this is a formal occasion. That casual permission is one of pizza's greatest strengths. There is also a darker side to the story, because foods that become massive industries always carry trade-offs. That is why the simplest question, what is the best pizza, almost never has a simple answer. The best pizza might be the technically perfect one, but it might also be the one from the shop near your old school, the one your parents ordered on Fridays, the one you ate after a game, the one from a city you miss, or the one that arrived when you were too tired to do anything except open the door. Pizza is one of the rare foods that can be judged by craft, comfort, convenience, nostalgia, price, and place all at once. Its power comes from that overlap. A slice is never just a slice if it carries a memory. So when people call pizza simple, they are only partly right. The structure is simple, but the meaning is layered. It begins with flatbread, one of humanity's oldest answers to hunger. It changes with the tomato, a new world ingredient that found a home in old Naples. It grows through poverty, street vending, and immigrant neighborhoods. It spreads through American cities, soldiers returning from war, suburban families, chain restaurants, frozen food technology, cardboard boxes, delivery promises, online ordering, and global remixing. It survives because it can be serious or silly, cheap or expensive, traditional or experimental, local or corporate, fresh or frozen, eaten alone or shared with a room full of people. That flexibility is not a weakness. It is the reason pizza became one of the most successful foods on earth. The next time you lift a slice, look at what is really there. There is wheat turned into dough, tomatoes that crossed oceans, cheese shaped by dairy traditions, heat from ovens old and new, business systems built for speed, immigrant memory, regional pride, and a social ritual hiding in plain sight. Pizza may look like sauce and cheese on bread, but it is really a machine for comfort. It turns scarcity into satisfaction, strangers into regulars, neighborhoods into identities, and a cardboard box into a small promise that dinner can still feel easy. There is one more reason pizza became so hard to replace. It learned how to feel local even when it was sold by national systems. A chain pizza can be familiar because the logo, the box, and the flavor are predictable. But a neighborhood pizza can be familiar because the counter, the owner, the smell, and the imperfect little details belong to a specific place. That tension is what makes pizza different from many other fast foods. It can be mass-produced without fully killing the romance of the local shop. A town can have a chain on one corner and a family pizzeria on another, and people will understand both of them instantly. One is convenience, the other is memory. Sometimes the convenient one becomes the memory too, especially for kids who grow up with birthday coupons, red booths, delivery nights, and leftover slices before school. Pizza also became a food that lets people perform taste without making dinner complicated. Ordering half pepperoni and half mushroom is not just a topping choice. It is a tiny negotiation between people sharing the same box, choosing thin crust, deep dish, extra cheese, no olives, hot honey, or plain cheese says something about habit, region, age, and personality. That is why pizza keeps generating opinions. It gives everyone a way to participate. The food is simple enough for almost anyone to understand, but flexible enough for almost everyone to defend their own version. That is why pizza conquered America, and that is why America never stopped changing pizza in return.